Good evening. I'm well aware the lighting, the setting, probably not ideal for a video, but when inspiration strikes, come on and let's do it, right? I don't know what I'm saying. So maybe this will just be draft number 1. Or maybe it'll be the final product. I'm so tired. I've been working my booty off. I don't know how people do this. Like, how do people do this? I can't imagine doing 8-hour shifts of what I do in customer service. I mean, my shifts are only 4 hours and 45 minutes, and like, yo. And I got like nice enough shoes for the job. It's just designed to be draining, and they're overworked, underpaid. Customer service should be a way better paying job. So many jobs should be better paying. Teacher salaries. I mean, I can go on and on. People roles, people jobs deserve to be paid more. Living wage. Period. Last I checked, it was, I think, like $25 an hour would be the minimum wage if it kept up with inflation. That is not the topic of this video. Oh, but I need to stretch. So, I thought I would come on here and, share from my perspective, like the ways that I've healed my codependency. And before you click off, for those of you that may have a misconception about codependency or don't totally understand it, or maybe you totally do, regardless, I feel like this video could potentially resonate with a lot of people. And I'm going to start with like coming at it from the angle of which I have used it to, the angle in which has helped me the most. Because I went to support groups for it. I struggled with it a lot the older I got. Because I probably struggled with it all my life, but it didn't become apparent to me until I became an adult and then started to work on my psychology in the process. Because as I became an adult, I basically started walking the spiritual path. And when I started walking the spiritual path, that was when I started to self-reflect and go into my psychology one step at a time. And so I think around just after COVID, I realized that, I had hit a certain rock bottom within my own psychology and really needed some space to reflect. And so I went to a space, like a healing center in the United States. It's also a rehab center. People were recovering from drugs. People were recovering from relationship issues. People were recovering from just emotional distress, anxiety, depression, everything. And that was my first experience of having like intensive therapy in the modalities that were more fringe, probably earlier in time, but they were reputable therapeutic modalities for healing trauma, things like EMDR and art therapy and all these things. And I got to, like, right as I was coming in, I started to learn about codependency. And we would have like support groups while we were in this healing treatment center. And I found out what it was, and it resonated so deeply. I felt so seen, so exposed, so confused. And that was like, I don't know, January of 2022. I was there for, 3.5 weeks. And doesn't seem like a long time, but whenever you don't have your phone, it's like a full-time job. You wake up and you're on a schedule and you're doing these things, this routine, this structure, these therapies every day, all day. You're in group therapy. You start your day with therapy, you end your day with therapy. I mean, it's really pretty profound. It was really awesome. And so, so just to give you my backstory, like this is not my first rodeo. I've been doing this for a long time, working on my psychology, working on healing my innards, and specifically codependency, and trying to change other people. And a few years ago, I found the teachings of the Ascended Masters through my friend Kim Michaels, and that has been the most transformative aspect of my life, and has, I mean, there's no words that I can describe what it's done for me and how I now feel like myself. Not like my outer self, not my ego self, but like I have stripped myself down in such a short period of time to like finally feeling like I'm on track. Like I'm on track, not just like I don't care anymore about anything being done in my own glory. I have no like real aspirations that are in vain. Like my life at this point, I'm just kind of like, what's next? Like I don't have, ego desires in the ways that I did that were coming from like this compulsion because I felt like I was supposed to do something special or do something worthwhile or be of service. I have so much to give, so much to offer. I just have to give it all. Like I don't feel that way anymore, and it's like profoundly peaceful, and my life is completely and totally just like chill. Not good, not bad. It's good. Like actually, it's kind of, it's just, I don't know what to say. Like, it's not like flatline, because that insinuates that it's boring, because it's not, because anything is an opportunity for me to get triggered and then look at my psychology and take responsibility and go really deep into like my deepest, darkest traumas that have still yet to be resolved, which so far aren't that many anymore. It's really just like one or two things, and it's usually pointing to like the primal self and the birth trauma. And I've been feeling pretty chill with it. There's just a few things. Like I've been looking at it. And, you know, it'll try to fight back with this like nebulous fog that'll start to come over my brain, and I'll get confused. And then I'll take some breaks like and back off of it for a little bit, because I realize like it's not like I'm avoiding anything, at least not consciously, but I have accepted that I have time. Like I don't feel in a rush. I don't feel compelled, compulsive. I get triggered. I'm not going to say I'm like magically healed and enlightened. That's just not at all true. Like the shit that still spins in my psychology and my consciousness on a fucking daily basis is ridiculous. But I see it. And like, I have time to resolve it. And like, I just stay I have to stay on course with like invoking light, and also asking the masters to help me resolve certain conditions, like continuously asking them to help me see things every day, and just like thanking them for my life, and like thanking my higher self for all that we've done, baby. Shit. The shit that I've overcome, not just in this own life. It's not just this one life. I've created momentum from past lives. In this life, I was just like, I ain't playing. I am not playing in this lifetime, yo. And like I was talking to one of my friends who's also in the teaching, another student, who's much older, much, much older than me. And she was saying, you know, like the fact that you're this young, having like, and at this precipice of like that, you know, like being able to face and see like the core wound as to like your birth trauma and like the primal self that was formed from that means that I have the rest of my life to play on planet Earth, which is pretty cool. A lot of psychology, I'm sure, to still resolve. And that's pretty cool. Wow. So I originally started this talking about codependency, or that was my intention. And I guess I'm just telling you my backstory now. In my bedroom with shit lighting because I refused to turn the light up because it's my bedtime, yo. I was like, if I'm going to turn on these lights, this is coming on, and this is way more distracting than low lighting. And we're just going to be in it for the ambiance. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I think I haven't been sharing on YouTube because it's like, if it's not coming from this like inspiration and I'm not like sharing from like an informative place or sharing my story and how I got here and where I'm going and what's happened, how I've gotten here, how I've gotten to be this free. Oh, to be this free. Like it's just night and day. I reflect often because I still interface with like the environments that haven't changed, right? But I've changed. And I look back on like the years that I've been doing the same routines and the same habits that are like, you know, going to the gym, going to work, walking places in town, in the same town that I've been in for 8 years. And I have changed so much. Like and I'm realizing like how little I give a shit about what people think of me and how free I am because I'm not trying to be perceived in any type of way because everyone is entitled to their perceptions of me and anything else. And so before I used to be really concerned about that. Like, how am I being perceived? Am I perceived in like a positive light? I want to be perceived in a positive light. I show up, I try, and blah, blah, blah. And like, why don't these people like me? Like, what? And then trying to make it about them and like, oh, it's because they're jealous or they're triggered or they're an asshole or this and that and that and that and that, you know? It used to really bother me. And that's kind of a codependent behavior that I don't think a lot of people realize. Well, you don't have to call it codependent. I'm going to call it codependent because it's like you're trying to manage the outside. That is externalizing your inner peace on the outside world. Some people call it duality consciousness. You know, in the teachings, they talk about it like that. But like, just lay people terms. It's just me and you. We're in the year 2026. Like, let's talk how it is. Like, how we can articulate and speak to each other. As people in the world, but not of it. To externalize your power, to give your power away, and your sense of identity and your sense of emotional stability to another thing, another being outside of you is just absolutely insane. No judgment. Hello. And I found this to be like a compulsive behavior in many aspects of my life that would look so different, you know, but it would be coming from the same thing. And specifically what originally like prompted this was like how far I've come in my parenting, my co-parenting journey specifically, because I parent alongside someone that I obviously chose to have a child with on higher realms before I even came to an embodiment for whatever karmic lessons that I needed to learn there, which are plenty. But the biggest one is like, parenting has been a big deal for me. It's something that I have a strong like feeling towards, have had a strong feeling towards. It's something that I care a lot about. It's something that I identify a lot with in this role that I've taken on. But I know it's not me. I know that at the core of my being, I'm not a parent. I'm not a co-parent. I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, parenting on planet Earth, co-parenting with someone that I'm not that I don't agree with on a lot of things, but I'm not in any epic struggle, it feels like, anymore, which is huge, because even like the friends I'm sure that maybe watch this video, is a really big deal that I'm even saying that, because like I'm sure there may be more layers there. I'm not going to deny that. It's like I intuitively can sense like there's more layers, but I've got momentum, and it's a lot, like the vast majority of it is behind me, and, or at least the hard shit, like the really, 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 really hard stuff. But, you know, who knows? The deeper we go towards this wound, I don't know. I'm not going to pretend like I have any idea what's going to happen, and I'm not going to sit here and say that like I've got it figured out. Like I said, I don't. I'm just saying I can reflect. I've come this far. I've come far enough to still be relatable, but not too far to where, like, if it was too far past gone, you know, this was like 20 years ago, I wouldn't even remember half the shit that I'm saying now to make it relevant to be helpful to you. So this is why I'm documenting this stuff. So, there's been many situations that I can give an example to, but I'll try to remember the one that sparked this particular inspiration, which is like, yeah, I've been conscious lately about, and have since the beginning of my parenting journey, is like, how do I speak about money, for example? I'm going to give that as the example because that's what came to my mind. Like, instead of saying like I can't afford something, which is mostly the case, you know, I wanted to be really intentional about like the words that I'm using, and this came to me in the last few weeks, like to be more intentional about this, because before I don't know what I would say. I probably wouldn't say anything, but I've been saying, oh, that's just not my budget right now. Like when I talk to my son about like why I'm not getting him this toy, or why I'm not getting this thing for us, or whatever that he's asking for, because he just wants everything because he's a child. I'm just like, oh, that's not in my budget. That's not in our budget right now. And it's really cool because it's not this like, I can't afford this. Can't afford this. I can't afford this. It's too expensive, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. It's just the way that I'm choosing to parent. It's the way that I'm choosing to lead. And what came to me was like offering an alternative, because I noticed his father I don't really interact with him that much, to be quite honest with you, like in the flesh, but we have been interacting a little bit more just because of like some events that are going on with my son and like extracurriculars and stuff. And I would hear him speak on things, because I'm always, you know, I'm always looking and being aware of like my surroundings. And he was saying something like, oh, that's a really expensive, you know, uniform, so I don't want you to lose it, and blah, blah, blah. It's an expensive t-shirt, and like, blah, blah, blah. And then he'll say, oh, it's not about the money, and blah, blah, blah. And I don't really have an opinion necessarily on what he was saying, but it was alluding to like, it made me think about like my experience of him in the past, and how he really hasn't changed much, and how he's talked about money, and it's always in this like, it's just in a more negative way. And that's fine. And the old me would have been like trying to correct him, like in front of my son, like trying to correct him, or, you know, speak about things differently immediately, just trying to correct or, you know, overstep. And I don't. It's an opportunity for me to, impulse control. It's not my job to fix him, to correct him, to change him. My job is to be myself and offer an alternative. And not even in that moment. Like, let him be how he is. And like, I just keep living my life in my own house with my son when he's with me. And I just keep being myself. And being intentional about my wording of like a budget. And funnily enough, for the last like month, or two, Phoenix was like, I want a budget. Because he's really interested in money and making money and buying things. And so we've been talking about and having some creative ideas of how he can make money. He draws and likes to draw. And so I was like, well, we can practice and you could sell your artwork maybe at the farmer's market with me, or, all other ways, because I'm not sure how I want to do the chore thing. Like, why am I giving you money just for doing what you're supposed to be doing anyways in this household? You don't pay me. You don't pay me for fucking doing the dishes. Like, why am I paying you to do the dishes? I'm not into that. But I am into other creative ways of like empowering him to earn his own money to buy the things that he wants to buy, because he's really into Beyblades and like toys and stuff. And so, and like teaching him like, okay, that's fine. You want to earn money. That's great. So now you have the money to get the thing that you want. Do you want to spend it all on this thing and start all over? Like, that's your choice, So anyways, I hope that's helpful to anyone, that, I don't know if this is, making a lot of sense, but really, I've just come to learn and sense the subtleties and like the different perspectives of like the different ways to look at things, this like one particular thing and how it manifests in different ways. Because that's like the sum total of our lives. Like, a lot of our psychology is just built upon different reactionary patterns to protect this one trauma that we don't want to look at and we're avoiding or escaping. And so we have like certain personality traits we think they're personality traits, right? We think like they're just habits, but like, yeah, they are habits. They're built in, deeply ingrained habits of behavior that you have acquired over lifetimes. But if you don't want to jive with that, a lifetime, generationally, transgenerationally, generally, I can't say it, generationally, that you've learned, you've taken on, because you have, culturally, you embodied in a certain culture, as a certain identity, and have a certain family and mannerisms and things that you've taken on, as well as like what's in the collective, and as well as what's in your own personal psychology from momentums from past lifetimes. But you can let a lot of that go. Like, this outer personality is what they call it, the masters. They call it that. These outer personality behaviors, the not self, the separate selves that we create to be able to cope and deal with being on planet Earth, because it's psychologically impossible to be here without creating some type of mechanism to cope with being here, because it's just kind of unbearable. It's an unnatural planet after all. It's not a natural planet. God didn't create this. We inherited it. We inherited Earth as it is, from a series of choices that were made from beings from a long time ago that didn't want to take responsibility for themselves and create a certain stagnation, and was creating like this downward spiral, and therefore beings from other natural planets or other places could shake some shit up. And so some pretty like narcissistic psychopathic beings came up in here to break some stuff up, and that therefore then opened up the free game effect and letting like more evolved spiritual beings, like they call them avatars. In the past they've called them indigo children, they've called them starseeds, whatever. There's so many of us, to be the example of being kind of like Christed beings, like people who can take responsibility for their psychology and resolve more and more and more of it to the point where they can let the light of the Creator flow through them freely and be the open door and express themselves. And I find that I'm at that. I've been doing that. And it's also, it's interesting because I was just listening to a dictation of like, you know, you can't be the Christ when you're connected to like the planetary momentum and like conglomerate of fear that has been like created by the fallen beings, narcissistic psychopaths, the people in power, you know what I mean? And the ones that have no regard for human life, why things are the way that they are, you know, like living wage, the lack of living wage, and war, and all the shit you see on the world stage. That's those guys. So I have like phlegm coming. I know it's really disgusting, but like I've just been dealing with that lately. Anyways, so where was I going with that? Yeah, I don't know. All of life is an opportunity for you to look deeper inside yourself and to become free. Become free of the conditions that were once binding you to a level of fragmentation and like stagnation. Because where the energy's not flowing, it's stagnant, and like you can't let the light flow freely, consistently, without resolving those like pockets of stagnation. And the stagnation are like the unconscious beliefs that you have from traumas that you haven't resolved, and the fear that's bound up in the emotional body, and the thoughts that it projects, or the thoughts that project the feeling. It's like it creates this a reverse flow. You know, we're all so damn effed up here from all the trauma, whether you know, resonate with the holy crap with being an avatar or one of those, you know, indigo starseed beings. You were traumatized severely, like more than anything that you could ever imagine, when you first incarnated here and they knew who you were. And then from that horrific trauma that they put you through, you had to create what they call a primal self to be able to psychologically cope with being here. And that sucker is strong and here to protect you. It's the like almighty protector self. And when you start to get close to resolving your birth trauma, you get closer and closer to it. Like you've done all this like superficial shit, but it's all a fragment. So look, it's kind of like a funnel, okay? And it's like a fan and a funnel, but it's also like a fractal. And so you can resolve the psychology, you know, like when you start to do like basic looking at your childhood, all this stuff, like this superficial stuff. Not that it's superficial, it always is like pointing to something deeper. It seems like it's about this lifetime, but I guarantee you it goes back way far. to this deeper core trauma. And then it's like everything feels so big. I don't have an animation. But it's like, think about, it's a freaking cone. It's a funnel, okay? Everything's like so much bigger up there and everything seems so disconnected, but it's all a part of this big thing. And then as you get closer and closer to the center, it's like these fewer and fewer semi-unrelated, seemingly unrelated issues in your psychology. And then as you get closer and closer to the center, to the point, here, I could have just done this. My God. As you get closer to the point, that's your core birth trauma, like the core thing. And even beyond that is like why you came here, which is all connected. Like the primal self, the birth trauma, and the motivation and the belief and the expectation you had for why you even came here. Because some of y'all came on a freaking like rescue mission. Some of y'all came here to try to save, all that stuff. There's some kind of expectation that you had before you came here that you were projecting on your experience that you would have, and that you could make a difference in some capacity before you even like incarnated, because you were out of it. You weren't down here making that choice. You didn't take on the you didn't take on all the horse shit that is required in order for you to even be incarnated here, right? Because it's dense, yo. It's so dense. You were above it. You're like, oh, some of you were like, oh, look at these earth people. I bet you I'm just so loving and giving. I'm just going to go down there and be myself. And everyone's going to listen to me and I'm going to save the day. It's going to be fine. And you come down here and you get here. And you're like, oh, fuck, I can't get out. And it's so dense. And all these people are ignoring me. And those people are trying to kill me, almost killed me, tortured me, did all this shit to me. And now, look at me. They don't listen to me. They don't care. I'm traumatized. Why did I even come here? I want to leave. Get me out of here. And you can't. You can't. You cannot get out of here without systematically walking the path of ascension, raising your consciousness one step at a time, one grueling step at a time, until it's become this effortless cakewalk. I don't know if it ever is, maybe at the higher levels. But yeah, that's basically the journey for a lot of us. And so as you get closer to that deeper wound, that primal self will start to fight like hell to make sure you never look at it. You never look at that pain again, because it's its job, right? It's here to protect you. It's like, no, we're not going there, homie. We're not going there. We're not. So for me, I notice like some of my symptoms whenever I start to get close to it, it's like this fog I can't see. Like literally, it's like a fog over my whole frontal lobe. Like I can't see the forest from the trees. Or there'll be this like deep panic if I'm triggered, and like this deep panic, this deep, these awful feelings, right? And so, and there's so many other ways that it can manifest, but just know if like those things are coming for you, like if you're feeling those things, it's like if it's a big trigger in your emotional body, it's just an opportunity. If it's overwhelming, there are physical things that you do, because remember I said that reverse flow, like ideally light would be flowing down, but because should be what it is on planet Earth, you got to kind of be creative and use the physical, which a lot of us do, the physical body, to be able to change the emotional mental identity. And that can be, for a lot of people, it's like stretching, exercising, walking, bilateral stimulation of the brain, right? Walking. I love walking. running, jogging, dancing, yoga, did I say yoga? Or chanting, singing can put your emotional body at ease so that you can be able to be in some type of peace and like altered, like went from like severe dysregulation and trigger to the point where you can't even, like I said, see the forest from the trees, and then be able to calm yourself enough to be able to eventually look at it. Because when you're in it, it's really hard. You can start to say things. You can be like, okay, like you could be really triggered and you can like write down like, you know, what's happening, like what you're feeling, what's happening. And then put that down, let yourself be regulated for however long it takes to get regulated. I remember I had an episode recently where I got really triggered, and eventually, because it started at the beginning of the day, and then this was like a really big trigger. It was like one of my deeper triggers, right? By the end of the day, like around dinner time, I didn't feel that same intensity. Oftentimes it's way more, I would like to think, when I look back, my track record, it's quicker than that. But this one was, it was like a chemical cocktail. God, that was a couple months ago. Anyways, it was a big one, so it took me a long time. But sometimes it would be days. I remember looking back at I don't know. I have never had a substance abuse issue, but damn, I had like a mental, emotional addiction to like I don't know if it was an addiction. I was just like so used to being dysregulated because everything felt so triggering, and I felt like I was constantly in and out of like PTSD responses. And like, especially in my last big relationship in like my mid to late 20s, it was so intense. Even before that, it was intense. But it was like I was consciously aware, you know. Before I was aware, but I was so young. I was like on autopilot, you know, in and out of chaos, internally, emotional turmoil, and really just on autopilot. And then as I got older, started doing more work on myself more intensely, I would watch myself engage in these behavioral patterns, these emotional patterns, these mental patterns. And I was like burning myself out, like revving an engine, going nowhere, burning tires, smoke, steaming. And literally living off of fumes. And it was like really fucking my body up, I think. My brain, my hormones, everything was just getting so taxed being in that kind of perpetual state, because it was perpetually, I was like in a situation that was like what felt like a solitary confinement cell of PTSD. Because I was, you know, in a relationship that was forcing me and triggering me and reminding me of my birth trauma. And I didn't know it then. I was just constantly getting triggered, and I really thought I was like dating someone that was out to kill me, you know? But the reality was that they just reminded me so much, like the energy of them, whatever it was, that it's still not totally fleshed out, but I recently realized, I was like, no, I was just totally being completely like past life PTSD, like birth trauma PTSD from this person that opened it up, you know? And that's a whole nother story. We'll get to it, I promise. Not in this video, but we'll get there. So yeah, it's an interesting thing to be alive on planet Earth. And it's most likely the case that if you're watching my channel, you feel similarly, that you know you're different. And you probably are a little bit confused by it and maybe a little bit in your head about it. Who knows? But regardless is that you've written into your life's plan that you have the opportunity to look at it. To look at not just what makes you different, but that you have the capacity and ability to look at yourself in a deeper way than you have. To look at your psychology, to take more responsibility, to see your projections for what they really are, which are projections based off of some trauma that's been unresolved. And you probably have strong intuition, but it can be clouded. Oftentimes, most of the time, can be clouded. Not most of the time, not saying validate your intuition, but just be careful, because a lot I don't know, because like those projections can be so strong, you know? They can be so strong. And at the same time, so is your intuition. And like for me, like in that situation, the PTSD, solitary confinement, and what it felt like, it felt like psychological torture I was in. Not to say that like it was all in my head and I was just living in PTSD land. Like that person was flawed and did do effed up shit to me. And I did contribute to that relationship. And I think about who this person is, and it's so completely baffles me that something that was once so gripping has no hold on me anymore. Like I've completely transcended that person, that relationship, the psychology that brought him in to begin with, and that kept me in that tango, that dance of hell, you know? And I've even transcended like what he thinks of me and like feeling like I have to be nice or friendly. Like when I see him out, like I ain't got nothing for you. And even when I see him, like there used to be this charge. And I, you know, sometimes I think one of the last times I ran into him, I did feel that fight or flight come and a self-activate. But mostly, it's mostly gone now. Like, and it's bizarre that, like, I can be who I am now, see him for who he is, not for, like, any kind of projection that I had before that lured me into his aura. Because even before we became intimate, it was a clear no. But then something got hooked, and then like 3 years later, I was hooked in, and 3 years of my life was spent in and out of that psychological torture chamber. And I learned a lot. I know it sounds like really intense, but I learned a lot. And like you do whenever you look at life and all the things that it has to show you and all the lessons that there are, you learn a lot, and nothing is a waste. Things become, I used to think like that it was a waste. I was like, oh, he got the last of my 20s and like made myself into such a this victim, like 3 years of my life. I don't feel that way. Are you kidding me? Are you joking? Nothing's a waste. I had to be in it for however long I was in it to really learn my lesson. All the lessons. And so, yeah. I feel like there's one last little point. Yeah, if you're into this stuff, I'll be talking more about it. Part of me like resists it just because I know like there's like this fear still because I haven't totally resolved my birth trauma, because I know it had to do with me being a public figure, and it had to do with what comes with that, and there's so much more intricate things and going on. And yeah, it's not easy knowing who you are on this planet with the forces that are hell-bent on making you feel stupid as fuck, or trying to make you feel stupid. Did you hear what I just did? I tried to mute the stupid part and then actually said the F word. So my brain, I'm gonna need to go to sleep. But there are forces that try to scream and howl and psychically project into you, like, how dare you think you know who you are? Who do you think you are, knowing who you are? Like, and the reality is that I am who I am. I'm a spiritual being. I'm an avatar. I came to Earth. I've been doing this for a long time. This is not my first rodeo. This is not my first lifetime. I've been doing this a lot. And it's threatening to them. It's so threatening to them and to other people's egos and their own separate selves, because it was for me, for people who know who they are and can't be effed with. You know, like, yeah, psychic projections and like shit they'll send and blah, blah, blah. But like, it's not going to touch the being that I am. It's going to touch my separate selves, my primal self that is afraid as to be triggered and, you know, triggered into that original wound. And oh my God, I can't feel the pain again. Like, feel the pain, let it go, and then it won't be there. And that's a process. So I'm not buying into the illusion anymore. Y'all can't fuck with me. You know what I mean? And I'm just not here for bullshit. And I can't be controlled. And I can't be manipulated. Because I see things for what they are. And wise as serpents, harmless as doves. All right. I think I'm going to leave it there. I love you. And you are loved. I need to be careful when I say things like that, because like some of y'all really take it seriously. Like, I got people that like have fantasies in their mind. It's not just like with me. People create fantasies and like illusions and delusions in their brains based off of the things that they take out of context because of their own unresolved psychology, and then project, and then they have this whole like thing, whole fantasy reality with that other person. That's not healthy. If you're one of those people, you might want to get that looked at. Just saying. All right. Take care. Be responsible. Do your shit. Sleep well. Drink water. Bye-bye.